Uh, Welcome to this Career Reinvention Program, the second session of it. Actually, I'm very happy to introduce my childhood friend, my schoolmate, my classmate. I'm not sure what other introductions I should give you about Suresh Sadagopan. He's also the founder of Ladder 7 Financial Advisory, author of a very, very popular book. I think I could call it the bestseller in its genre, titled If God Was Your Financial Planner. I'm sure some of you would have already invested a copy. If you've not, you can possibly do it post this session after you hear what Suresh has to say about financial confidence, which is the topic of today's session. He's also a regular on channels like Economic Times, CNBC, NDTV, Bloomberg TV, and stuff like that, mainly on the financial side of things and advising people where they should put their money and how they can make it grow, as well as how to plan their future financially. His articles are also very, very popular on moneycontrol.com. And at times over a party, I get popular because I tell people I know Suresh Sadagopan. So, that's how popular he is in his space. So the man himself on the call today, Suresh, please take it over. Yeah. Welcome to the session.
Yeah, thank you so much, Ashok, for the wonderful introduction. I don't know whether I deserve that, but I'll take that as a huge compliment from your side, and I'll proceed with the session. So shall I start the share now?
Yeah, go ahead, Suresh.
I'll start the share. So today's session is really on uh, the career reinvention and the financial aspect which we need to take care. So it is about that. So when I was talking to Ashok and Juby, I mean, what I understood was there could be two categories of people, two categories of ladies, one who are already working, who may want to transition to another job, or probably they may want to start up something on their own. There could be another cohort, which could be somebody who has taken a career break for personal reasons, and then they are coming back into a job or they are starting up something. So these are the two main cohorts which also I'll be addressing. Apart from that, I'm a financial planner, so I'll be talking about the important things which we need to consider in financial planning. So this is going to be useful for everybody. So if you don't belong to any of these two cohorts, this will still be useful, valuable. So I'm going to start with the first, I'm going to start the session with the basics of financial planning, which in my opinion is absolutely essential for every single person. Okay, so I'm starting with that. So money management and financial planning is, what I want to start with. Uh, Finances are important. I mean, we don't have to really uh, go into too much into this. So finances are of course important. We spend a lot of time in terms of earning that money. All of us start in our 20s and go on till our 50s, late 50s, even into 60s. So this is typically what we all do. So there are a lot of things which are running on the shoulders of the money that we earn. Uh, there are multiple goals, there are dreams, we want to create wealth. I mean, whatever expenses we want to incur, lifestyle, everything. Everything goes based on how our career is going and the earnings that we are able to get based on what we do. So, but very, very ironically, I mean, most of us don't seem to have any strategy. In fact, for everything else in life, we seem to have a plan. If we have a picnic, we plan for that. If it is a day out, we plan for that. If it is a marriage, we plan for 6 months to a year. In fact, we plan for everything, but the one thing which we are actually spending the prime of our lives, which is our career and earning money, we don't really plan. There is no proper strategy. There is no thought which is given. So a lot of times we see as financial advisors. I've been a financial advisor for 22 years. We have seen this time and time again, whether it is a women cohort or men or it's a couple. We see this all the time. So this is a problem which we will have to address. Money earned, there is no dearth of money today, at least the kind of people that we are seeing. there is no dearth of money. People are earning extremely well. But at the same time, the lifestyle also increases over a period of time, and they tend to spend away a lot of this money without really putting away the requisite amount of money to ensure that their future is well funded. So this is a problem. So lifestyle spiral is real. So end of the career, maybe at 50, 55, whenever they choose to retire, the wealth creation is not what it should be. It definitely does not reflect the potential of that person to create the kind of wealth that they could have had they been slightly more careful about the whole thing. So yeah, so what typically happens, we are all human beings. We don't want to blame ourselves. We don't want to take the hit. So we blame inflation, we blame the government, we blame the low income. I mean, this is very funny actually. People who are earning 3 lakhs, 4 lakhs, 7 lakhs, 8 lakhs per month, they are blaming low income. Okay. And they blame taxes and a whole lot of other things. So the point is now, I think we need to really think about this particular thing that, yeah, there are taxes, there is inflation, all those things are there. But with the level of income that many people seem to be having today, I don't think that is really a problem or a challenge today. So we need to acknowledge this particular thing. Um, so there are other things. Most thing that they need to be in assets that give best return. So this is a typical problem that we face. People do not want to invest in debt-oriented funds or fixed income funds. They want to invest in equity. They want to invest in gold. They want to invest in crypto or any of the other assets, which potentially at that point is giving extremely good return. But what we have seen as financial advisors over a long period of time is that we need to have a proper combination of assets in the right mix, so that then you will be able to generate the returns consistently and above a certain threshold, which is required for the financial plan to work. So what we have seen is that we need to be disciplined about our investment. When I say disciplined, I mean there should be a budget, and we need to stick to the budget. Regularity is most of the people do get a regular income, and if they are getting a regular income, there should be a certain amount of money which should be put aside as investments, and then you can guilt-free spend the rest of it. So that's what we advocate as financial advisors. You first invest and then you spend. Consistency, we need to be consistent in terms of where we are investing. We cannot change our approach or strategy mid-course. And we need to look at the investment itself from a long-term perspective. People talk about long-term when the markets are going up, and when the markets start dipping, they say we want to change horses mid-course. So this is something we keep seeing. But seldom that approach of changing horses mid-course ever yields results. So that is something that we have seen as financial advisors. A good mix of assets in line with the risk profile, in line with the returns that you aspire for at a portfolio level. We need to look at the taxation for somebody who's coming less than 12 lakhs per annum. So probably they can invest pretty much in fixed income assets or post office oriented assets if they are appropriate. But for people who are earning much higher level of income, say 30 lakhs, 50 lakhs, or much more than that, we will definitely have to look at the taxation also as one of the aspects, because we really are not talking about the headline number. We are really talking about the number which will stay in your pocket. So we need to really factor in the taxation. We need to diversify. So this is again a problem with a lot of people. So when the gold is going up, people want to be predominantly in gold. When the stock markets are racing up, they want to be in stock market and so on. So that is not a strategy. That is jumping from one asset to another, and seldom it gives good results. Liquidity needs, tenure needs, yeah. So this is very important. So I had a case about 6-7 years back of a gentleman from New Delhi area. So he had called me, and he had something like 25 crores. I mean, so it's a person who has a lot of wealth. So this gentleman was saying that I want to send my daughter abroad, so I'm not able to get anything out of my investments. I was curious to know what investments has he made. So as luck would have it, he has invested everything in real estate. So various plots and commercial properties and residential properties and things like that. And when he wanted the money, he was unable to liquidate that. So liquidity is also very important. And in this particular example, this gentleman had to take a loan to send his daughter abroad. So he had all the money, but he was not able to liquidate anything on time. So that is equally important. Then the tenure. So if a product is, let us say, a 5-year product or a 7-year product, and your goal is coming up in 2 years or 3 years, then there is a mismatch in terms of the kind of assets you have invested, in terms of the tenure and the liquidity. So we need to consider all these things while we are actually putting together a portfolio. People need to understand that income is not wealth. I mean, people may be earning a lot of money, and while the money is coming in, flowing in, there is no problem of any sort, because I mean the bank account is flush with money. People are happily spending that money. So at that time, there is no real problem at all. But it does not build up into a wealth corpus over a period of time. And if people have, I mean, people's lifestyle has gone up significantly, the 3 lakh, 3 crore, 4 crore, 5 crore, and all that will not be enough. So this we have seen. Again, a very, very extreme example. We had a case about 2 years back. I mean, somebody had 45 crores. Okay. So this family came to us, and we thought, I mean, every single requirement for them is going to be met. That's what we thought. But when we were planning, we found to our chagrin that it is not possible to meet all the goals. I mean, because there were so many different items on which they were spending very lavishly. So for a family, 45 crores is also not enough. So basically, what I'm trying to say is that the headline income number is not everything. It is also about your lifestyle. It is also about how much money you put aside for your future. So one of the fundamental things that we need to understand today is that after we retire, it may be at 55 or 60 or whatever, we are looking at, say, maybe 30, 40 years. Once upon a time, maybe in our grandfather's time or father's time, possibly they were looking at maybe 10, 15, 20 years. So our portfolio, our wealth has to last for much, much longer. And we need to be cognizant of this particular fact and appropriately put aside money for the long term. I mean, as a financial advisor, when I say this, people say you always keep about talking about long term. What about my lifestyle today? So, I mean, so it has to be a very careful balance between what you want to do today, what you want to do today, versus having a good, healthy lifestyle in the future as well. I mean, in the retirement years as well. Yeah, so some basic principles. So these are the basic principles which I want to just broadly highlight. So these are very important. These are important, far more important even before investments itself. Okay. So one of the things is liquidity. In fact, when a person is coming to us who has started earning, the first thing we talk to them is not about investments at all. We talk about building a bedrock of investments which is useful for liquidity, and which are useful for meeting multiple goals a young person may have. Typically, young people, when they come into come into some amount of income, they want to buy a laptop, they want to change their mobile, they want to maybe gift their parents, they want to do a whole lot of things, right? I mean, each one of them by itself may not be something very big, but cumulatively they can go into lakhs of rupees. So liquidity is very important for young people to start with. I think this audience, I don't know whether that is relevant. I think there may be some people who are pretty young, so that is why I thought I'll mention about that. As far as the liquidity provision is, it's super important for a normal person who is earning a regular income, and they are getting the income on a regular basis without any interruption. A 3-month liquidity provision which takes care of all the expenses, including all the EMIs and investments. That is a liquidity provision that we need to have. The liquidity provision need not necessarily be only in a bank account. It can be partially be in the bank account, maybe to the extent of maybe 1.5 times of the monthly expenses. Balance can be in a flexi deposit, it can be a liquid fund, it can be an arbitrage fund, it can be any one of those ways by which we can actually maintain a liquidity provision. Contingencies and emergency provisions are very, very important. Okay, contingencies, let me give an example so that you understand what I mean by a contingency. Contingency is something where probably something may come up at some point in the future, but you don't know what is the quantum or what is the timing. An example of that is, let us say there is a elderly, parent or another family member. You know that they do not have insurance. You know that probably you may have to spend on a medical hospital admittance. So that's a possible contingency. Whether it will be 2 lakhs or 5 lakhs or 10 lakhs, one may not know. So one will have to estimate that and then put aside that money. In some families, the contingency can be in the form of, for example, somebody who is not doing all that well, or somebody is in a business and they may require money from time to time. So that's a contingency. Again, we don't know what is the quantum. Again, we don't know when it may be required. And that's a contingency. And if there are contingencies like that, which you can think of, providing for that contingency also makes a lot of sense. Emergencies are something which we don't know will come at all. COVID was one of the emergencies. People who had provided properly for this kind of a situation, they were high and dry. There was no problem at all. They were sitting pretty. A lot of people had tremendous amount of problems during the COVID. So ideally speaking, contingencies and emergency provisions have to be kept aside. How much of contingency, how much of emergency provision is something that we will have to really think of on a case-by-case basis. The other thing is goal provision. So as far as goals are concerned, something can be short-term, something can be medium or long-term. Anything that comes in the next 36 months, we consider that to be short-term. And I'm talking about important goals, which you definitely want to meet. Okay. The goal can be in the form of, let us say, a vacation. A goal can be a car change. Goal can be a home repair. Goal can be anything like that, which is coming up in the next 36 months. Goal can even be a house purchase itself. So whatever is the goal, which is coming up in the next 3 years, we will have to keep a provision for that in a form, in an asset, where the capital values will not diminish. So that rules out gold, that rules out equity, that rules out cryptos, that rules out a whole lot of commodities and other things, right? So if you want to provide for the goals which are coming up in the next 36 months, normally we suggest assets where the capital does not erode. By definition, this gives a comparatively lower return, but that is by definition, because the most important thing here is not returns. The most important thing is to meet that particular goal when it comes up. The other thing is a security net. So there are the multitude of things which we need to do, because see, if we don't provide for, let us say, hospital admittance by way of a medical insurance policy, whatever corpus we have is going to go towards provisioning for that, right? So we will need to provide appropriate security nets for ourselves. So security nets are many. So we will need to be careful about how much money we want to put aside, which security nets are important. The most important one is medical insurance. Uh, I don't have to tell this audience, I don't think I have to tell this audience the need for having a medical insurance, because any hospital admittance can be in, say, tens of thousands to several lakhs, and it can be tens of lakhs also. Okay. So that can actually completely bankrupt a person, and we have seen several examples of that. So operating without a medical insurance policy is not such a great idea. The other thing is the life insurance. So life insurance is absolutely necessary, especially for people who have not really created the amount of wealth or assets. So that is the third pillar, which actually supports the family in case something untoward happens to the main income earner. So life insurance is absolutely, absolutely important. There are other insurances which may not be as important as life insurance or medical insurance, but could be useful. So good to have, like accident insurance. Accident insurance can be a good to have insurance. I'm not going into too much of detail at this point. Um, Critical illness insurance can be helpful in terms of suppose somebody gets critical illness. In that situation, they will be able to, claim a certain amount of money. So this is a benefit policy where suppose somebody has taken a critical illness to the tune of 10 lakhs. On the onset of a particular condition of a particular severity, they will be paid the 10 lakhs right upfront. So that will help them over and above the medical insurance in terms of actually going for whatever treatments. And temporarily, at least, it will be a fallback in terms of any disruption in income. So one has to look at these 3-4 insurance primarily. Yeah. So liquidity contingency provisions, once it is used, it has to be replenished. So one of the things which we do in a proper financial plan is that we set up some kind of a regular cash inflows into such liquidity and contingency provision, if at all they are going to be used. And then it should always have the necessary amount in the kitty. So that is something that we need to do. Now, let me very quickly talk about what is a financial plan. In the case of a financial plan, I would say it's a blueprint for what what you want to do with the money. It's a blueprint for now. It's a blueprint for the future. We do a feasibility study as far as our client is concerned, taking into account their income, their expenses, when they will retire, which goals will come at what point in time, all those things. And then we project it up to 90 and beyond. So normally that is what we do. So this establishes whether this whole thing is feasible. And we also do certain scenario analysis. So some people say that, okay, this is feasible. The current steady state is feasible. What if I want to buy another house? What if I want to send my daughter abroad? What if my wife wants to, or my husband wants to retire at, let us say, 50 or 52 or 55? Will it work or not? So that is also something that we take into account in the feasibility study and the scenarios. Okay, so there is a lot of store on building a portfolio investments. In fact, when we talk about a financial plan, immediately people say, okay, you help with stock investments, or you help with this investment, that investment. See, actually, financial planning is not just about investments. It's, like I said, it's a blueprint. So it's a financial architecture. So we are those financial architects. So if I have to give an example, which all of us are familiar with. So when you have a piece of land, you want to construct, let us say, a bungalow, you go to an architect and you will tell this person, what is that you want, how many people will be living, how many rooms, all those things, whatever you require. You require a balcony, 2 balconies, whatever you require, right? And based on that, the architect will come up with a draft and then show it to you, discuss with you, and then the final blueprint will emerge. Once the final blueprint emerges, any civil contractor can give shape based on the architect's blueprint. So what we are doing is also something extremely similar to what the architect does. We are the financial architects. So based on the personal requirements, based on the family requirements, based on where they are situated in terms of their current money situation, and what is the inflow, outflow, goals, and things like that, then we construct a financial plan to take care of all the goals that come over a period of time. And they have enough money to do whatever they want, including probably leaving a legacy. A lot of people want to leave a legacy. So including that. So whatever be their requirement, so we will ensure that these things are there. I mean, of course, the feasibility will show which one is possible, which one is not possible. So those things are all discussed. I want to tell here and now that the financial plan that we create is not something static. So we will create a financial plan with whatever data is available at a particular point. And over a period of time, the data points change. Like we might have taken that the income increases by 6% based on what the client says. We might have taken the inflation at a certain level, maybe 5%, 6%, 7%, as per what has happened in the past, and so on, investment returns and all those things. And then based on that, we project into the future. So we will be directionally right. Okay, we can never be exactly correct. And in certain cases, when the goals change, when there are certain events which were not foreseen, then the plan has to be completely redrawn. Okay, coming back, we also help in terms of recasting the portfolio as per the risk profile. So risk profile is very important. Like for example, there may be two ladies who are at age 40, but one may have a very aggressive investment intent, and another lady may have a very conservative investment intent. And we need to take that into account when we actually create a portfolio, because if we take a lady who has a very conservative investment intent and give a very aggressive portfolio, because we feel that to achieve whatever goals, we need to invest aggressively. That is not probably going to work for her. At every point in time, she's going to be stressed. So we need to be empathetic about that. We need to understand which goals can be achieved based on their risk profile, based on the expenses that they have, what loans are there in their with them, when are the goals coming up. So for example, some of the cases, the goals may all be bunching up in the next 3 to 5 years. So accordingly, we will have to invest. So which means the bulk of the money will be invested in the near term in terms of assets which cannot potentially give very high returns, okay, because they are into fixed income or assets which have high level of liquidity and low volatility. So based on all these things, suffice to say that we put together a portfolio. Portfolio construction is a very, very important thing. Normally, many people who do not really look at from a financial planning standpoint, they just throw together products and then they call that a portfolio, which is not how it should be, ideally. What mix of assets we are suggesting will not be the same for any one family, meaning for it will differ from family to family. That's what I mean. So for somebody who has a conservative intent, we may have more of, let us say, fixed income assets and much less of, say, variable assets like or growth assets like equity or gold or other things, right? So it is this architecture has to be properly constructed, and the investment options are based on the family situation, based on the risk profile, based on the nearness to goals, based on how many years they have to retirement. So every plan is different. Every portfolio that we construct is different. And the focus is on making the portfolio efficient. We are not endeavoring to give the highest return in any portfolio, because if we are going to really look at only the returns, it may not be the portfolio which will work best for that particular family. Like it is like actually looking at a car and saying that this car goes from 0 to 100 in 7.5 seconds, and I want to buy this car because of that. So there are probably 20, 25, 30 parameters which we have to consider in a car, not just how far it accelerates or how efficient it is in terms of the fuel economy. So we look at portfolio efficiency within while making the portfolio efficient and aligned. We also look at how to make the portfolio give the best possible return. So that is one thing. We believe in simplicity. I mean, I would urge people here to look at their portfolio. I mean, the portfolio in a lot of cases, I don't know about the audience here, but we have seen that in a lot of cases, people have invested over a period of time. There are multiple vendors who are managing some portions of the portfolio, and we have seen also some clients who themselves do not know, or they have forgotten some of the investments that they made long time back. And like a treasure hunt, at certain points they do get certain communication, and they then send it across to us, and then we investigate what it is, and then bring it into the portfolio, cash out and bring it into the portfolio. So one of the most important thing is keeping the portfolio simple, efficient, and manageable. Yeah. So quickly, certain myths and wrong ideas. Most of the time, we think in terms of investments and products. In fact, investments and products should come absolutely at the last. I mean, that is the end result of a planning process, not really the beginning. Need to get the highest return possible. This is contextual. We need not gun for highest return at all. In fact, we do the financial plan with a 9% return. After retirement, we do with a 7% return. And we can find that most of the people, if they, if they are slightly practical and pragmatic, for most people, it all works. Okay, what we really require is that discipline, that consistency, that long-term approach. That is what really is important. And if we have committed some investment, not take that money for some other purpose suddenly on a whim. Chasing fads, this is all too common. So whatever is currently doing well, people want to move their assets into that. We have talked about this in the past. So this is fairly common. They move from equity to gold, gold to silver, silver to something else. So this is something that happens. It rarely gives better returns than a stable portfolio. So I would highly urge, that one should stay in a portfolio which has been strategically put together and not tactically chase fads. Timing the markets, I mean, I've heard fund managers say that timing the markets is extremely important. Fund managers are saying that if they get 6 on 10 right, they have done a good job. This I've actually heard fund managers saying. So it is extremely difficult for us to time the markets. So if you want to really ride the wave, you have to be in the asset to start with in that particular product if you want to ride the asset. So you have to be in the market, not time the market. Time in the market is what is really important. You must have heard that. Time in the market is important more than timing the markets. You must have heard about that. Unwilling to come out of wrong investment. So this is a behavioral quirk. So where somebody has invested, for example, in an investment which has gone down in value, overall portfolio otherwise is doing well, but they don't want to come out of that particular investment because that particular investment is showing a loss. See, ultimately, from our point of view, money is money, right? I mean, whether it is coming out of investment A or investment B, it does not matter. So we will again have to be practical about these kind of decisions. I mean, so these are behavioral blind spots where people stay with the long investment, and only when it comes to their investment value, at least they are willing to exit. Where it would have been far better for them to just switch to an appropriate investment, taking the loss. Maybe they would have recouped the losses much better had they gone into some other proper investments. Typical mistakes, again, replicate what others are doing. So a lot of people are not really financially that very savvy, and they replicate what maybe a friend or maybe a colleague or somebody who's financially savvy or is seen as financially savvy, and they get into the wrong investment. It is not that I'm not saying that the other person is giving wrong advice. That is not what I'm saying. But the advice has to be aligned with your requirements. For them, possibly, a equity stock may be an appropriate investment for them. For you, it may not probably be an appropriate investment for multiple reasons. It may be that your risk profile is not very high, so you should not go into that. Secondly, your goals are coming up in the near future, so you cannot really get into that kind of thing. So for multiple reasons, it can absolutely go wrong. Working without an overall plan is a recipe for disaster. You cannot work with back of the envelope calculations and thumb rules and all that. So thumb rules can go horribly wrong. And we have seen that going horribly wrong. Thumb rules are thumb rules. And what you actually get, a big spoke plan, is something tailor-made, and you should consider doing that. I mean, if I'm not pitching my service to any of you. You just have to use the basic principles which I am really talking about here. Thinking insurance products are investment, this thought process is endemic, and people invest in insurance products all the time. So not an appropriate thing. Insurance should be basically for providing security, and investments are in whatever products are appropriate for your situation. Not having enough protection, this is a common problem in India. People say that I have taken enough insurance. I am already paying, say, 1 lakh, 1.5 lakhs in terms of insurance premium. What is not said is how much protection is there for the family. So if it is going to be, say, 10 lakh as protection or 15 lakhs as protection, it may be very short as compared to what is really required to cover the family. One of the typical, this is not a problem in the real sense, but when there are too many vendors, you don't know where all you have invested. The money may lie in multiple accounts with multiple people. You don't even know where they are residing. And like I said, in my client's case, suddenly he got to know about some investments. Over a period of 3-4 years, he kept on sending certain statements. And we had to really work on that, and it was like a treasure hunt, okay, getting that money out. Do not give enough time for investments. Again, like I said before, people invest in, let us say, a stock market investment for the long term, but suddenly they panic and they take out, and they have not given enough time. It has not given good returns. So this kind of a thing does happen.
Hey, Suresh, just an interruption. There are a few questions on the chat.
Okay.
I can read them out, and also if there are questions on the audience, they can
If you
unmute
would permit
themselves.
me, I will make a logical stop here.
Okay.
Just maybe a couple of slides, if you don't mind. And after that, we can take the questions, if you don't mind.
Okay. After this slide?
Yeah, after 1 or 2 slides, that's all.
Okay.
So avoiding blunders. So, I mean, one of the things which we as financial advisors tell is that if we are able to help our client to avoid mistakes and blunders, we have done 50% of our jobs. Okay, so a lot of times people get into investments or stratagems which are actually pushing them back by maybe several years. Okay, you get into an insurance product, and because of that insurance product, which actually has to be invested for the next 20 years. So there is no way you can get out of that product. If you get out of the product today, you are going to incur a loss. If you are going to stay in that product, probably you'll be still making a very low return. So heads you lose, tails you lose. So it's something like that. Taking loans to spend on vacations and things like that is absolutely avoidable. This is super basic, but a lot of people tend to take loans on at the drop of the hat. They take loans even for vacation, which is uh, basically a lifestyle item. So save first and then spend is what we advocate. A lot of people don't know where to invest and end up buying properties one after the other. So this we have seen. Actually, um, that particular couple, they had some 4 or 5 land parcels over a period of time. It took a lot of time for us to kind of make them sell 1 or 2 land parcels. So it is not very easy to sell property. Yeah, so this is the kind of advice your mother or some well-meaning relative will tell you. Money given to loan as money given as a loan to friends, relatives does not come back and ruptures relationship. This we have seen in so many cases. This is something that you will have to do this and the next one, signing sureties. So I have a case here. One of my clients had signed a surety for his colleague. He was working for a PSU. This lady is actually a good lady, but this colleague, I mean, this person who had signed the surety, um, I mean, he signed with all in her best interest. But that lady, it was not that she did not want to return or she wanted to default, but circumstances were such that she went into a default, and people came to him and he had to make good the loss. So this kind of a thing does happen. So sureties are absolutely avoidable. Okay. Right temperament. I think there is just one more slide, and after that we can take questions. Stay within the budget for expenses and goals, not getting swayed away by what another is doing. We have talked about this in the past. Yeah, so we have to really carefully look at what kind of life we want to lead, what is the lifestyle, what is the trajectory of that lifestyle, because income goes up. A lot of times the lifestyle goes up much faster than the income growth itself. And over a period of time, um, people are struggling for breath, even though they are earning extremely well. Think long term. I think we have talked about that. Right mix of assets is more important than just gunning for returns. Um, if we have put a portfolio properly together and it's a long-term portfolio, it has been constructed properly, we don't really have to worry about the volatility and lags, because for the short term, like I had mentioned earlier, there are enough provisions we have already made. Okay, so you don't have to worry about those things which have been put for, let us say, 10 years hence or 15 years hence or for retirement. So we don't have to really worry about those aspects. Uh, Expenses in check. So there are things we talk about, controllables and non-controllables in financial planning. Controllables are those which where really truly we have the key to that. Okay, one of them is expenses. So a lot of people say that expenses are ballooning, but that is the primary thing that we have in control. People worry about inflation, they worry about taxes, they worry about a whole lot of things, all of which is not in our control. People talk about geopolitics, people talk about oil prices. None of which is in our control. There are only 3 things which truly we have control over. One is expenses, one is what kind of goals we are having, and when in the future we want to achieve that. And the third is how much money you're willing to put aside on a regular basis. That is something that we have in control. The right approach is put aside certain money first every month. It can be 10%, 20%, 30%. For very, very young people, 10% is good enough. But for people somewhere in their 30s, mid 30s to or above, it should have come to something like 30%. So ideally speaking, in the 40s or 50s, it should be well beyond 40%. So because the income will be high, a lot of things would have been provisioned, and 40-50% is not really a problem for people who are earning decently well. Take loans only when it is necessary. For home loans, one needs to take a loan. But for all the other things, we have to be very, very careful about that. A lot of people tend to take loans for buying a car. Car is a depreciating asset. Ideally, avoiding loan in terms of depreciating asset is actually a good idea. But if you happen to take a loan for X or Y or Z reason, you have to have enough money to service those loans without any problem. Invest regularly with a long-term intent. So this we have talked about before. We don't have to get into any kind of speculative investments to ensure that our goals are met or our wealth creation happens properly. So this I can tell you with authority, speculative investments are not needed. We are not really advocating cryptos or any of those speculative assets which are out there in the market. And our clients are doing quite well by investing properly into proper investment assets. Now I think we can go for the questions.
Yeah. Okay. So the first question was from Bindu Nisha. So you spoke about high income earners. Her question is, how about people earning, say, like 12 lakh a year? What is the best money management in that case?
Yeah. Very good question. So the point is now we have to cut the coat according to the cloth, right? I mean, so that is the fundamental thing. So we keep saying this all the time. Expenses are the lever that we have control over. Income is not something that we have control over. A lot of people say, I have control over income. They say, you tell me how much money you require to make this work. So there are people who talk like that, but that is not how it can be done. Keeping the expenses in check, working to a budget and not exceeding the income is the thing that we need to focus on. So if your income is 12 lakh, you will have to spend within 12 lakhs. 12 lakhs is not a very small income. Okay. I'm talking about big numbers. Some of the clients have big numbers. There are clients who have comparatively modest incomes also. We have done planning for such people also. So it's a question of how you are planning and running your life. It's that.
Okay, thanks. The next question is from Shanti. She's asking, what are the benefits of joint investment with the spouse? And what can women do to independently secure themselves?
See, joint investment is generally recommended. I mean, you can never say about marriages these days. We are seeing that with our client cohort also. But the point is, I don't want to turn cynical on this. Typically, the investments ideally should be in the joint mode. If the ladies of the house is actually earning the money and she is investing, she should be the first investor, and the husband can be the second investor. If the husband is the one who is earning and investing, the wife should ideally be the second investor, because we have seen a whole lot of cases where the investment is on one person's name, and later on when there is a unfortunate event, getting that money out becomes a problem, especially in cases where there is no proper nomination. So there is no real problem in terms of actually having the investments, unless of course there is a concern regarding a controlling spouse or a concern regarding a spouse who may probably fritter away the money. So there is non-alignment in terms of what you want to do with the money. So in those cases, probably investing on one's own may be a good idea. We have had a client, we still have that client. This lady invests with us. Her husband does not believe in financial planning or equity investments. So that gentleman is investing only in fixed income assets. So he invests in post office and fixed deposit and things like that. So we have kept him out of the picture, and this lady invests, and she has put her sons as the nominees. So there is no one answer here, but we don't have to really worry about that. It's on a case by cases, we can handle that.
But was the question on how to actually do it with something like a 12 lakh income? Was that the question, Bindu, or was your question answered?
Yeah, it was definitely answered, but I was also curious, like if it is less than 12 years, say between 6 to 12 lakh, where the expenses, even with all the budgeting and everything, it is still going neck to neck with very, less savings. So what is the best way to invest that, whatever the less savings that can be done, what is the best way to invest those?
So the answer is actually I will answer it in some other way, in the sense that we cannot look at the income and we cannot look at investment, so that whatever expenses are there, whatever goals are there, we invest in such a way to meet the goals. So there are people who want to achieve certain goals, but for that we will have to really put their investments into very, very high risk assets, because that is what will give 20%, 25% return. We will not be able to do that. We will have to look at the goals, what is actually possible for that family. So we really cannot compare ourselves with, let us say, a friend or a relative or anybody. What is appropriate for us is what ideally we need to do. So we have to focus on the income and budget properly, and the expenses has to be within that. Goals have to be properly planned for. In fact, I keep saying that financial planning is required for people who are not really very well endowed, or whose income is comparatively modest. For people who are earning a huge amount of money, even without a financial plan, a lot of things can work. Okay, for those who have comparatively modest incomes, financial planning becomes extremely important. Running a tight budget and investing properly and minding the goals becomes very important, because the risks are very high for people who have the people who are earning comparatively modest levels of income.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay. There was one more question from Molamma. Do you want to unmute and ask the question directly? It was about, can you explain a bit about, so we can understand that 9% versus 7% and why that difference is kept?
I understood the question. Shall I answer that?
Yeah, hi. I think you did mention about a 9% for the normal person and probably for a 7% for the retirees. And how is that taken into account?
Yeah,
Thank
you're
you.
absolutely right. You're absolutely right. So in the income earning years, we can potentially take a slightly higher level of risk, of course, in consonance with the risk profile. But when we retire, one of the most important things that we focus on is capital protection. So because of that, we will move assets into those kind of products where the capital protection is the primary objective, or a good portion of the products will be in those assets where the capital will be largely protected. So because of that, the returns do come down, and that is why we are assuming a 6 to 7% return in the post retirement period. Like I said, I mean, if one has done a good job in the income earning years, even a 6 to 7% return does work very well. Yeah, Soumya has raised her hand.
Hey, hi, Suresh. It was a great content what you shared. So I have a question as part of a career break woman. So if someone is starting their career after some time and they have zero financial backup, and they're starting the career at the mid-30s or early 40s, so what do you suggest to them?
So now I will have to go back to the rest of my presentation. That is what this is going to be all about. Juby, with your permission, can I proceed with this? Because what Soumya is asking is coming in the second part of the presentation.
Yeah, that was my major thing because it is the scenario with me. So yeah.
Yeah, sure. I mean, so that is something that I'm going to do. Juby, can I go ahead?
Yeah, just a quick check. Any other questions on the bridge? Please unmute and you can ask directly. Okay. Yeah, doesn't look like. So let's keep moving.
Yeah. So one of the things is ensuring that the ladies who are making a transition, who are currently working, who are making a transition to another job, what do they have to do financially? And ladies who are currently working and who want to start up on their own, what they should be doing. So this is one cohort. The second cohort is ladies who have taken a career break. So Soumya, you probably come here. You want to either get back to a job or you want to start something on your own. So these are the two broad cohorts, and I'm going to really talk about what really is needed for these two sets of people in terms of finances and financial planning. So working women who are already in a career and they are transitioning to another assignment, for them there may be a fair amount of investment. I'm guessing that there will be good amount of investments. They would have deployed somewhere. Considering the transition, especially if it is a transition mid-career and they feel that this transition can be problematic, the transition can be born out of, let us say, the company laying off people, which happens even in Indian context these days, or for some other reason there is no growth or whatever it is. I mean, so one may want a career transition. And in those kind of cases, when you are completely entrenched in a position in a company and you are moving to another company, there is always the risk that something may not go that very well. And we need to be very careful and we need to plan for it. Yeah. So if the changes in terms of a job from one firm to another firm, even though the new firm one has to go and establish oneself, the transition slope is not that very steep. As compared to that, if one were to start a new enterprise, that's an entirely different ballgame. Okay, so I'll be talking about that a bit more. So depending on what is the transition, we will have to plan quite well. So if they're transitioning from one job to another job, they're taking up a new assignment. One of the basic check factors is liquidity. I've talked about liquidity right in the beginning. So in the context of people who are transitioning from one job to another job, I had told before that you require to keep about a 3-month liquidity. Considering the fact that one is transitioning into another new position, I mean, I would suggest increasing the liquidity up to 6 months of expenses, including all loan servicing or any rentals and other requirements. Emergency contingency provisions, if one has the money, because this particular cohort is somebody who's already working, I'm guessing that they may have emergency and contingency provisions put aside. If it has not been put aside, if they feel the need for doing anything on emergency contingency, one should do. There is no particular number in terms of how much to put aside, because let us say a COVID-like emergency, you really cannot predict it. Even the hospitalization of somebody, some elder in the family, you don't know what is the amount that may be required. So you can put aside a reasonable sum of money, which may be 5 lakh, 10 lakh. It all depends. It can be 25 lakhs. It all depends on the particular case. So we need to identify the goals, especially the near-term goals we need to identify and we need to provision. So I guess the working women will have the means to provision for the near-term goals. And a lot of cases, I'm assuming that the lady is doing this all by herself. But typically in a realistic situation, it is, I mean, especially for married couples, there tends to be two income. Okay, so in that particular situation, we will have to look at what goals the lady has to provide for, and we have to provision for that. Security net, I'm assuming that again, security nets will be there for a person who has been working for some time. If the security net is not there, if they have been only relying on what the organization has been giving, the next organization, if they are giving something appropriate, it's fine. But it is always good to have one's own medical insurance, one's own proper life insurance. Some of the companies also give life insurance, but it is always appropriate to have one's own life and medical insurance. And especially if somebody is planning to start on one's own, they would have to do at the earliest the medical and life insurances. So women coming back into a job, further things. What needs to be evaluated is whether there are any significant investments and how they have to be repositioned. Okay, that investment itself, repositioning, I'm not talking about just liquidity and provisioning for the goals. There is also there are also people, we have faced this kind of situation where they have spent a lot of the money that they have earned and they want to start afresh. Maybe the job that they have been doing did not pay all that well, or they had a lot of commitments, or they were shouldering a bulk of the responsibility or all of the responsibility all by themselves. And if that is the case, then they are looking at starting afresh. So in that kind of situation, the only thing which I will say is if there are any investments that can be brought to the fore for liquidity and any provisioning that we want to do. If nothing significant is there, we will have to probably go into the job and hope for the best and probably rely on maybe some loans if it is necessary. Ideally on friends and family for the short term till one stabilizes in a job. Ladies who have taken a break and they are coming back, these are the people who typically may not have too much in their kitty, because if they have taken a say 5-year, 10-year break, it is possible that they have spent on multiple things and they don't have significant amount. So if they have to go back into a job, they may have expenses which have to be provisioned. Like if they have young children, they have to be taken care of. If they are having a job which where they will have to go and work at office, they may require the services of helpers. So all these things actually cost money and we will have to really provision for it. So if there is anybody in the family who can help, like a spouse or like parents or anybody, at least in the intervening period when there is not too much money, that will help. Otherwise, we will have to see how we may have to take a short-term loan or something like that to provision for that kind of a thing. But we will have to provision for this kind of a thing. So then people coming back after a job break, so I'm talking about them. They want to go into a job. After a break, they're coming and they want to go into a job. So here, liquidity provision, ideally, if they have the money up to 6 months, is desirable. If they have not been in a job and they have been spending their own income or their own wealth, then that's absolutely fine, because now they are going to start receiving an income. So that is absolutely fine. We have to build from here onwards. Okay. So that is how it is. Emergency contingency, if it is there, it's okay. Otherwise, we will have to go. I mean, we have to build up as we go. Okay. So that is how we can do it. Goals, again, any goals coming to them for which they have the money, they can be provisioned. Otherwise, as we go along, we will have to plan. Because in a situation where somebody has taken a break and they have depleted much of their wealth, then there is not much to fall back on. So we will have to build as we go along. Or if there is a spouse or if there are other people who can help them in the interim, that of course will certainly be a great help. Security nets, again, I'm hoping that even during the job break, one has had a medical and appropriate life insurances. If not, at least the medical insurance one will have to take immediately, in spite of the fact that the new employer potentially may give a medical insurance. Sometimes what happens is people do get medical insurance, but they are comparatively smaller amount of medical insurance, like say 3-4 lakhs, which is not really I mean, much given today's medical costs. So one may have to take an appropriate insurance, medical insurance, especially post haste. Yeah. So now this one, just give me a second, please. Yeah. So stay with me. This is very, very important. These are questions which you will have to ask yourself. Why do you want to start your own venture? Okay. I have heard people saying that I don't want to work for anybody. I want to spend my time building my own thing. So that's fine. I mean, it sounds very rosy, sounds fantastic. But I mean, giving your skills and your abilities to a company and getting a salary is completely different from starting your own venture. When you're in a job kind of situation, you will be able to, you will be very happy at the end of the month because you're going to get a salary. In the case of your own venture, you will probably be stressed out because you have to pay a whole lot of people at the end of the month. So, I mean, you really have to have a proper reason why you want to start up. A lot of people say, I want to make a lot of money. I have a lot of skills. So, I mean, making a lot of money is not a good enough reason to start on your own. So, I'm just going to pose certain questions. I want you people to really give it a thought. That's what I'm requesting you to do. Is the venture somewhere utilizing your expertise or experience? So that is very, very important. If it is in a completely unrelated area, it's a red flag. Again, I have a story. I had a client long time back, maybe about 8 years back. He went to Pune, and I mean, he did not have a job at that time. He was an IT professional. He did not have a job. I don't know, I mean, who gave that idea, but he started a kind of a South Indian restaurant. Okay, he did not have any kind of background in that. Only that he was a foodie. Okay, so he went into that kind of a business, and in a matter of about 7 months or so, he kind of lost something like 16.5 lakhs. So he had to sell off whatever he had bought, and I don't think he realized much money out of that. Maybe a couple of lakhs is what he realized out of that. So if you're going into a completely unrelated area, it's a super red flag. At least if you're going to an unrelated area, there has to be somebody who's a subject matter expert. And even assuming you are going and utilizing your own experience, these are two different things. Like, for example, you may be a chef. I'm just giving an example. Being a chef is quite different from starting a restaurant. Okay, being a chef is a skill. Okay, and your skill may earn a lot of wah-wahs when clients actually have your stuff. But running a restaurant is a business. Okay, there is so much to know, so much to learn before the restaurant becomes successful. So these are entirely two different things. So you have to be very careful in terms of thinking about starting a venture. Have you thought through the venture properly? Do you have a business plan? This is very, very important. A lot of people do have a business plan, but what we find is people are wildly optimistic about the cash flows. So you have to be slightly more realistic about everything when it comes to starting off. So cash flows, you have to be. Now the bugbear of most of the small businesses is collection and sundry debtors. So you supply something, you deliver a service, but you don't get the money on time, which they are supposed to give in 30 days, 45 days. You don't get that on time. Okay, so you may say, I have 20 lakhs in the market or 10 lakhs in the market, 1 crore in the market. That doesn't help anybody, right? I mean, if the money has not come to your bank account, it has not hit your bank account, it is cold comfort because the money is somewhere out there and you don't even know when it will come and whether it will come. So this is something that we have to solve for. So very, very important thing a small business has to think about. So what can a person who is transitioning to their own venture, whether it is a lady who is transitioning from a job to her own enterprise, or somebody who has taken a career break and she's transitioning to her own enterprise, here the personal liquidity has to be of a high order. Because any enterprise, any firm, small, big, whatever, it takes time for it to really stand up on the feet and start generating returns. So personal liquidity is absolutely required for, we suggest up to 24 months, personal liquidity should be there. That is, when I say personal liquidity, expenses, goals, all those things have to be taken care of for the next 24 months without any problem. So the other thing is, depending on the venture, there may be some amount which may be required to start with, and there may be amounts which may be required on an ongoing basis for the next few months or years. You have to estimate that properly, and you have to figure out whether the money will come from you or from some investors or through a loan or whatever other means. So you'll have to really figure out. So you cannot really have a situation where you start up something and after 6 months you have gone completely dry. So you have to provision for up to 6 months. That visibility has to be there. Otherwise, starting a venture is a pointless proposition. Business expense, this is something that some very wise people had told me. It always balloons. It's always a great idea to double the expenses, whatever we are estimating to start with. my own experience also says that expenses can really go haywire. A lot of things we don't estimate when we start a practice or a business. There are lots of things, small and big, which comes up. So you have to pay attention to the expenses. So you cannot be very conservative on that. And you cannot be overly optimistic on how much you are going to earn from the business, especially at the beginning. Estimate startup costs. So whether it is coming through personal funds, funds from near and dear ones, or through loans. And if it is going to come through loans, how are you going to service it? So again, if the loan servicing is contingent on your optimistic cash flows, we have a problem. So you have to have a plan B. If the cash flows are not as robust as you had envisioned, so you will have to have a plan B to service the loans. So you find out regarding that. First of all, you will have to check whether you will get a loan for whatever venture you want to actually go in for. So that is also very, very important. And then the loan servicing capability also we will have to check. Emergency contingency provision, again, absolutely important. I mean, this is important for anybody and everybody. So if we are able to provide for that, well and good.
There's a
What
question on
provisions-
chat.
I'm sorry?
Sure. There's a question on chat.
Yeah, I'm going to kind of
Can I pose
wind
it?
up. I'm going to wind up, almost wind up.
Hmm.
So you want to pose the question? Yeah, please go ahead. Sorry.
Yeah. So this was a question from Sunita. It asks, what is a good suggested amount for medical insurance nowadays? And does a life insurance matter for a person who is not earning?
So as far as medical insurance is concerned, the minimum that I would suggest today for a person is something like 10 lakhs. For a family of, let us say 3 or 4, I would suggest maybe anywhere between 25 to 50 lakhs. You can take a family medical cover. Not that very costly, but not having an appropriate medical insurance is not a great idea. So money that is spent on paying the premiums for the medical insurance is money well spent. So that is one. What is the second question? I'm so sorry. What is the second part of the question?
Does a life insurance matter for a person who is not earning?
Yeah. So life insurance can matter because especially in a business situation, if somebody is going into a business, they are probably going to have a loan. So they are going to have certain liabilities. And if something unfortunate were to happen to them and they pass away, then the liability will fall on the family. So a life insurance is always appropriate for anybody who may have a liability. Otherwise, it is always contingent on the income. I mean, the question is absolutely correct, but we will also have to take into account the liabilities. So based on the liabilities also, we will have to take an appropriate amount of life insurance to cover that.
Yeah, that's all the question on chat. Any other questions on the bridge? If not, I can continue.
Yeah. So what is the plan B? So we have to have a plan B. So a lot of people, when they get into the venture, they get actually sucked into the venture. I mean, I've seen this time and time again. They say, okay, fine, I have put in this money. Now it's another 2 lakhs only, another 4 lakhs only. I will take care of this. I'm taking a loan against property. I mean, so it's never ending. So in the business plan itself, you have to have a curtains down provision where after a 2 year or a 1 year or whatever, you will have to see whether the business venture takes off. If the business venture takes off, fantastic. I mean, so that is the outcome that we want. But if the business venture does not take off, we will have to do a proper exit and move on to other things that we want. So how are we going to manage that? So that is also something that we have to provision. Identifying near-term goals and provisioning, we have talked about this. Yeah, so that's it. So that is the end of the thing. So this is the book I have written. If God was your financial planner, it's on financial planning, life planning, personal finances. It's a story format, so it's not very difficult for any of you to read. God comes throughout the book and he talks about life philosophy. So those are the things regarding financial planning, personal finance, starting up, what provisions, what you need to do. So it's all about that. That's it from my side. Thank you very much. Any other questions, I'll be happy to handle.
I'm just curious why this title of the book, if God was the financial planner.
Yeah, so one of the things is, like I said, God comes throughout the book, and God is actually he's talking to me in that book. He at various points I'm confused. I need counsel while I'm offering counsel to my clients. I need counsel. I'm really at a loss for what to do at various points. So God is offering His counsel to me, which I just pass on to my clients at various points. So it is, I mean, the title comes from there, and I mean, Juby, you know that the title has to be catchy. Nobody will otherwise buy a book. Who reads a book these days? So nobody will buy a book. So I have to do something on that, right?
Okay, good point. Okay, any other questions? Please unmute and go ahead and ask.
Can I have a show of hands of how many people would like a copy of this book? Maybe we can buy in bulk. So can I just have a show of hands here, please? And hopefully, Suresh, we can sort of buy some copies and distribute it to people. I see Sunita's hand up. Bindu, okay. All right, here's what I'm going to do. We're going to buy about 10 copies. Sarah Beth Gleason has said yes. Aruna Vaidyanathan.
Possibly a signed copy from Suresh himself.
Yeah.
Yeah, sure.
All right, we will take that offline. And
Sure.
folks, if you want a copy, just let Juby know. As of now, I'm not taking down the names, but since the session is getting recorded, Bindu, Sudha, Sarah, Janani, Kusuma, Sunita. Which Sunita is this? This is not the second career Sunita, right? Doesn't look like it. What's the title? There is somebody wanting to know the title of the book. Suresh, can you repeat that, please?
If God was your financial planner.
If God was your
financial planner. Yeah, that's right.
All right.
So thank you very much for paying attention, asking all the right questions. I hope this was at least partially useful to you people. I hope so. This was a short session, of course. There is only so much you can do in a session like this. I hope it has been helpful. Thank you.
Hi, Suresh. I just wanted to say it was a great session. Very, very practical and a lot of takeaways. On a lighter note, we invested an hour and 15 minutes. You gave us 15 minutes back. So thank you very much.